once again, this is just a little class. You have a class table that's just going to do it when we want. And then down here, all we're doing is calling the constructor and calling the print method. And this is the desired output. First of all, we're going to need a loop. The loop, I'll just tell you, the loop's going to go from 1 to 10. So that's where these numbers come from. Where do these numbers come from? What's the relationship between the left column and the right column? They're 5 times as big, right? So that's all we need. Now, if you look at this, what does the table object store? Does it actually store a table? No. You could have an array. It's possible, but it's not doing that. All it stores is the upper bound and the multiplier. And so here, we're going to put this in here. We just need to store those two things. So upper bound, write this down, needs to equal what? Bound. And once again, we're just putting this parameter goes here. Hold on. And then the instance variable up here is what goes on the left. Or get the order right. Don't get it backwards. And then, hold on. And then the other thing we need to write is multiplier equals what? Mult. I don't know why this is having problems. Now, as far as the constructor goes, hold on, I don't know why. I don't like it misaligned like it was. As far as the constructor goes, you can just have that same code up here, or, and I'll write either one. Either write that, or just call the set method we just created. So you can say set nums bound comma mult. Now watch this. This is actually a different set of variables that we're talking about here. And so I'm saying you can either store whatever, whenever we call this constructor, you can store it directly into upper bound if you want, and directly into multiplier. Or you can pass that job onto the set method, and then job would copy out of this variable, out of this parameter, and into this other one. They have the same name, but they're separate variables. This one exists only inside of the constructor. This one exists only here. And so either one's just as good for our purposes. In general, I told you it's better to use set nums. Use the setter method, just because you could later put in code to check to make sure the numbers are given are valid numbers. But anyway, either one's fine for now. Now the real crux of it is getting the print method to work correctly. We're going to need a loop. I need a counter for the loop. So normally for the counter for a loop, use like either I or X. I'll use I. In this case, you want I to start out as 1. So put that. Now, I've warned you against hard coding. In other words, in our example, the upper bound is 10. But what variable should I be using? Well, the one called upper bound. In other words, the 10 that you see in the example was stored into our variable here. And so use that. So while I is less than upper bound. Will that work?
No.
It's close. What would be left out with the code I have right now? Which number? The 10. Because in a lot of times we will use just less than, but here we need less than or equal to make sure we get the 10 as well. Okay? And then all we need to do is print one thing at a time. One little thing. When you run a loop, it's going to run the one thing after it. When I say the one thing, it could be one statement. Like here, we're just going to do print line. And it's normally system not out, but you can make it so you don't have to type system. You could do that one thing. It's usually considered better to put braces though, because that's the other one thing that could be there is one block of statements. Hold on, it's killing me here. Okay, and so if you put braces around it, then you could later add another other statement, and it would be okay. Um, but it's actually okay with, we're only doing one statement, so you don't have to have the braces. So I'm saying a while loop either runs the one statement after it or the one block of statements after it. Now, what do I put to get the 1, 2, 3, 4? And like the first time through, how do I get the 1 there? You print the current value of I. I is storing 1. I is going to be 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10, right? So start with I, plus, and we need a open quotes, space, dash, space, close quotes, and then how do we get the 5? Samantha mentioned it already. What's the relationship between the right-hand numbers compared to the left-hand numbers? They're 5 times as big. You cannot do this. You can't say 5i. Unfortunately, it doesn't understand that. It doesn't understand that multiplication should be implied. You have to actually put a time sign. And there you go. We're done. Except for I just messed up because I did hard coding again. If we didn't want the multiples of 5, it should have been multiplier times I. And then in this case, the multiplier is 5, but you can make whatever multiplication table you want, basically. That's the point of this. You're making a multiplication table. And so I could do another case. And I could change this to, the first 10 multiples of 7, and then you get 7, 14, 21, and so forth. Okay? And you can change it to the first 100, or first 1,000 multiples of 7. Questions?
How does I increase?
Okay, fine. Anthony, notice that I have an infinite loop here. It's Monday, what can I say? We kind of need an I++. It's kind of important. Thank you. All right, we'll stop there.